Though Stormpoint has brought us monster camps to help smooth out our games with less fights required, this map requires very smart fighting out of you and your squad to find any success. With how big the map is and the addition of camps, grav cannons, and some weapon balancing, fighting on this map can be very methodical or very chaotic. What's up guys, it's Valued, and today we're gonna go over everything that you need to know to help you win more fights and come out as the champ squad. Alright guys, so first things first, this map is all about lines of sight. If you're careless with your positioning or try to make a rotation to access an open area, be ready to get beamed by some long-range weapons. Between snipers and some long-range ARs, the meta definitely favors having at least a couple members of your squad eagle-eyeing for stragglers in the open. If you get caught out standing on top of a building, crossing a field, or just not being aware of a nearby power position, you can get absolutely wrecked in no time. This might not sound like a fighting tip, but take it from me, it really is. Not only does bad positioning give away your location early to enemies nearby, but it can lead to you engaging in a fight that you're never gonna win. Many of these fights where you get shot at while rotating or get third-partied while you're doing a monster camp will lead to your squad being surprised, mispositioned, and low on health. Now, while we'll all have bad positioning at times throughout a game, what's important is to prevent it at any time you can, and then notice when it's happening and reposition as fast as possible. So here's a couple of key examples on Stormpoint. Let's say you're rotating from a mill drop towards mid-map. To the southeast of Cascade Falls, there's a big prowler camp that's quite valuable if you can clear it. However, this camp is not only in a low ground position with high ground all around it, but it's also really close to a lot of hot locations like Cascade Falls, Barometer, and Checkpoint. If you go to clear this when there are squads around you at the POIs, then get ready for them to push you, or at the very least, look to poke you from a distance. These situations can get really sketchy fast, as I'm sure we all know from being third-partied while doing the camps on this map. These monster camps are super valuable, but you can't let them bait you into a bad position and be the cause of you getting kicked back to the lobby. Even if you aren't doing camps, many movements on the map are going to put you in bad positions to actually take a fight. If you go grav lifting blindly into a new area or just book it across the open areas around Barometer or Command Center, you should always be ready for a fight. Now, while you need to make strong rotations across the map and cover a lot of grounds in most games, doing so smartly and discreetly so that you get to choose what fights you take and when is the key. Setting yourself up for success by having high ground, spotting enemies first, and not taking fights or monster camps when other threats are nearby are the biggest and best examples of pulling this off well. Now, while this has always been important in Apex, it's especially so here on Stormpoint, where many teams will just push any shooting they hear or players they see due to the sheer size of the map and the lack of engagements. And guys, as you know, one of the easiest ways to improve your fighting abilities is to get better aim. But a lot of players find themselves shooting bots for 10 hours a week in the firing range and seeing little to no improvement. That's why today I want to tell you guys about AimLab. AimLab is the best aim trainer on the market, endorsed by hundreds of pros across every major title in esports, including Imperial HAL. With their massive catalog of drills and custom analytics to show you your strengths and weaknesses, there's truly no better aim trainer on the market. Make sure to check it out in the description below. So, speaking of the size of this map, you gotta quit getting so split up from your teammates. All too often, when I'm running ranked or even pubs, my squad mates will get distracted by looting or a monster camp and end up way too far from me or the rest of the squad. This is a huge deal on this map because it's pretty easy to do with how spread out the loot is and all the extra cool stuff around the map like the camps and grav cannons. You will die a lot if you're attracting attention at a camp by yourself, or if your team gets into a fight while you aren't with them. It can take a long time to catch up to each other, so make sure you don't go too far. Don't get me wrong, this map requires you to spread out a bit at times. Just make sure you're never more than a few seconds away from assisting your teammates, and you'll come into every fight better prepared or ready to capitalize on an enemy team member who's singled out. As you guys hopefully know by now, team shots are king and always will be. So if you're playing with your squad better than they're playing with theirs, you're gonna have more shots being laid down and more bodies to absorb damage. It's simple math really, so don't get something like this wrong because it will hold you back from finding success so easily. And this moves us on to our next tip, which is to single out those enemies that are doing just what we discussed we shouldn't do. With the longer range weapons a lot of us are carrying this season, it's much easier to deal good damage to a mispositioned enemy without needing to fully commit to a fight. If you have decent positioning and you're near your team, take advantage of every shot you can get at enemies who show themselves in the distance. And if a member gets too comfortable at a camp nearby or you notice they're by themselves, pinch them off from their retreat path and take them out. Just keep in mind that many of the positions on this map are much better to hold than they are to push. So if you have a good spot, good loot, and you're ready for the next ring, don't overcommit to finishing off a single kill. All these long-range weapons make it more beneficial to hold angles and repel enemies moving into your cone of vision than it does to constantly be looking to push enemies that you've damaged. This being said, if you're confident that there aren't any other squads around, you can absolutely go push in and clean up a squad. If you manage to get a knock from range, this should anchor the team to their position for a little bit of time before they get a res, giving you plenty of time to close a gap and take a fight. The biggest thing is you need to be fast about it. While there won't be as many teams looking to push you here on Stormpoint, the ones that are willing to push you are going to do so aggressively. Most teams won't get a ton of access to KP throughout the game unless they drop sort of hot or it's into the later rings. This leads them straight into W-king any player that they come into contact with. Now, you can definitely do this and find success, but this info is better used as a preparation for how a lot of teams will look to play the game. So on that note, let's take a closer look into how to effectively third party on Stormpoint so that you can pull it off smoothly in your games. Like we've already talked about, the long range meta lends itself well to poking enemies from a distance. But many players are backing up their triple take or rampage with a shotgun or even an SMG. This is so that they can soften up players with their ranged weapons and have a stable, powerful close range option to clean them out quickly. You really don't want to be lingering in any close range fight here on Stormpoint. As we touched on, the size and lack of player interaction can sometimes have teams following shots all around the map. So you gotta make sure you clean up fights quickly once you're up close. The best way to do this is making sure you're only shooting or committing to a fight that you can actually end. You just need to make sure you're playing to the strengths of your kit and find yourself an identity when you play. Now, what I mean by this is if you have an SMG with a Mastiff, there's nearly no point in shooting at a team that's far away because you'll never do lethal damage. Now, I know, this might sound elementary, but guys, I can't tell you how many teammates I've gotten, even in Masters, who still make these mistakes. Spraying shots from 200 meters with an SMG and getting us third-partied or held out of zone for no reason. To that point, you need to make sure you don't linger around for too long in any area that you shoot in. This includes Prowler and Spider camps. Like I've talked about before, you need to think of every shot you take as an alarm to the enemy squads telling them, hey guys, here I am. Like, seriously, think about it. When you're looking to find a fight or get KP in a ranked game, what do you look for or what do you listen for? It's always gunshots. So be sure if you're not trying to take an engagement or you don't want to get third-partied in a fight, only shoot when you're going to commit to a fight or if you're in a safe spot that you can use snipers to level up your evo or try to get some knocks. I hope you guys take this one into consideration because third-partying is the bane of a lot of players and it's where you find the most frustration and struggle to ranking up. So be mindful of where you're taking fights and don't get caught up fighting for 10 years at Command Center because odds are you'll be playing Wave Simulator fighting off hordes of team only to lose all your RP. So one quick tip I wanted to touch on here for Stormpoint fighting in particular is to prioritize healing a bit more in this meta than you have in the past. On most maps, you can get away with healing late and laying down some extra fire because you're safe to do so at range. But here on Stormpoint in Season 11, if you aren't topped off and you get cracked by a triple take or even just pushed by someone with a Peacekeeper, you're gonna go down fast. In the current weapon meta, there's a lot of guns that will put you down extremely quickly. Examples are the triple take, Peacekeeper, Mastiff, Car SMG, and the list goes on and on. If you go into a fight at low HP against someone with one of these weapons, you can blink and get knocked. So make sure when you're taking damage, you're mindful of how healthy you are and how healthy your opponents are. So guys, as you know, fighting is very important if you ever want to reach the higher ranks in the game or even just enjoy the game more. The better you get at understanding all the concepts that we talked about today, the more you'll start finding success in taking home more wins. That being said, let me know in the comment section below which part of this video you enjoyed the most and which one you think actually helps you. If you have any tips or practices that you use when you're fighting, tell me about it in the comments down below. Anyway guys, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.